Okay.
Okay, cool. So for the record and the debate topic is of the theism, I'm going to be defending the affirmative position that God exists, and my opponent is going to be taking the agnostic or the atheistic position. Whichever one it is, doesn't really matter for me. I think she started off the conversation previously by asking me if I'm neoclassical theist. So the question I have for her is simply, what do you define as neoclassical theism?
Well, I think that there's a distinction between classical theism and neoclassical theism. Notably, I think that God is more temporal, that he's not atemporal. Or maybe something with his elements and things like that. So,
Okay, so
what you
by the
mean by
way,
it.
when my mic is bugging out, let me know. Okay, I want
Yeah.
you guys to let me know if my mic is bugging out. So about that specifically, the major distinction for information between classical and neoclassical theism is primarily based off compositionality, right? Whereas usually classical theists are going to believe in like an atheist doctrine, the neoclassical theists do not believe in this. Given how you've laid out the position and my understanding of both positions, I would fall underneath the categories. Because number one, I believe God is not within time or within space. Number two, I do not believe God's attributes are identical to his existence. But thirdly, I also believe it is the case that God is simple. That means he's indivisible. You can ask me what I mean by that, and I can give clarifications afterwards.
Okay, so you think that there is distinction between God's energies and his essence? Is that what you said?
I'm not using energy essence distinction terminologies. I don't engage in those Aristotelian terminologies. But what I'm saying, however, is that God's attributes are not identical to his existence.
Okay.
So he's not
I'm
identical to his
curious.
attributes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just curious why the EED talk is prohibited by you.
Well, I just don't engage in that.
You have an issue with it because I think it's like I think you can use attributes. Sorry, there's a
I
train
have an
going off.
analytic philosophical approach, so I tend to not engage in Aristotelian scholasticism. That's just a personal preference.
Okay, sorry, hold on. There's a train going off by my house, so I can't hear you. Give me like 5 seconds.
You said what, sorry?
There's a train. Can you hear it?
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't hear
Okay.
you. So hold on.
Okay,
Let me let this train pass first.
that's cool.
Okay, I think it's gone. Sorry, if that kind of happens again, you have to like stop talking for a second. But
That's fine.
okay,
Yes,
so
I was saying specifically that just to lay out my position, I'm saying that God's attributes are not identical to God, not identical to his existence, right? That's going to be
okay.
rejecting the atheist notion or the atheist claim, which is entailed from genuine classical theism or
Okay,
Neoplatonism.
that's good to know. But you still think that he's divinely simple? That you
He's
said that?
divinely simple, yes. Yes.
Okay. I guess so. When you say his attributes, can you lay some of those out for me?
So omnipotence, omniscience, those are going to be the attributes I'm going to be defending to exist in this given conversation.
Okay, and those things like omniscience, omnibenevolence, omnipotence, those things are distinct
I only said
from the
I only said
essence?
two things, and they're distinct. Yes,
Okay.
omnipotence and omniscience are the properties I'm defending for this debate specifically.
And when you say distinct, what kind of distinction are you making?
I'm talking about distinction and so forth as a lack of identity. That's all I mean by distinction.
A lack of identity?
Yep, they're not identical.
Okay, well, I guess that's kind of trivial, like to what you're saying, because usually when you say that there's like a type of distinction that you're taking, you can say there's like, I mean, unless you want to stay away from,
They're
I don't know,
numerically
scholastic
distinct.
talking. Okay, so you don't think that they're numerically distinct at all, but you still think that he's divinely simple.
Yeah, I think the attributes are numerically distinct. That's what I'm saying here.
Oh, okay. Well, so then it seems like it's like some sort of conceptual distinction that you're making.
Doesn't have to be conceptual. You can believe the attributes are non-conceptual and still believe they're distinctions. They can be some
And
experimental objects. They could be like some sort of like platonic objects.
sorry, how would there be a conceptual distinction while still maintaining like divine
Wait, can you hear me?
simplicity? I couldn't for a second. Sorry.
Oh, my mic was bugging out.
I just couldn't hear you for a second, or maybe you
Okay,
just
cool.
weren't talking.
So I was saying specifically that there's a numerical distinction, and I'm saying that it is the case that you could have these distinctions without it being conceptual, even if you're just talking about property distinctions. Because if the properties are going to be abstractive, the abstractive could just merely be something which is going to be experimental and not something which is within a particular mind.
Okay, but I think if you're saying it's still something that can be abstracted, that's indicative of it it not being, I guess, like
No, I'm saying it's abstracted. So you know, like how you have abstracted and can create a distinction when talking about Platonism versus nominalism debates, right?
yeah, I understand what you're meaning by
Yeah.
like saying
So
that
the
you can
former could
abstract
be
these
mind
things.
independent. So like for example, someone like Plotinus does not believe that the nous or even the psyche or the psyche, whatever those things are, which are forms, he doesn't believe those things are mental stuff, right? He thinks that some of these things are extramental and those things are still abstract in nature. Even the
Sorry,
one, for example.
and by extramental you mean what there?
Extramental means mind independent.
Okay,
So
I
if you
guess
look into like if you look into Pythagoreanism, for example, or Platonism, like or even Platonism, like if you look at like Plato's Republic or that stuff, the good, these are things which are abstract without a mind, that they're objective features given their own metaphysical world. If you look into continental philosophy, for example. So
yeah, I think I understand what you're saying by the abstraction. I think that the issue that I'm still having is that I think it seems a little bit contradictory to say that we can like abstract of these things, but they are still merely like conceptual, meaning
no,
they
no,
can
no.
be
I'm saying it's
distinct
an
from.
abstract. I'm not saying we can abstract of these things. I'm saying it is an abstract. The definition of abstract, according to academic philosophers and SCP, is just merely the types of objects which are number one, well, under some views they're causally inefficacious, but it's just merely just something which is non-spatio temporal. Really, that's really the general definition.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. They're like these conceptual kind of things, right? They're not like uh, these actual like properties that we're talking about. But I think that the confusion I'm having still is like, even if you're saying that the abstraction isn't something that we're actually like taking the concept and we're taking something out of it, I think I'm confused of this entity God, and he has an essence in which he has these like omnipotence or omniscience, right? And these things abstracted of, I think is like kind of what you're saying. And then but they also have like this distinction numerically. And I think that if something has a numerical distinction, i.e. like X has the property of X, that can't be further abstractive. Like we can't go in and
You're
take out of
equivocating
that.
between so the problem with your logic is you're equivocating between the rational process of coming to certain or knowing certain forms or certain concepts and the idea of something which is an abstract object which could be something which is not identical to the concepts, right? So when you're saying abstract from or any of that stuff, it sounds like you're going into the philosophy of conceptual construction, which if you are a rationalist or an empiricist, they might have different approaches. But we're not talking about theories of knowledge or theories of concepts. You're talking about abstract objects, which are neither any of these given categories. So I think you're conflating two entirely different fields of philosophies right now. And if firstly, this is number one. I'm like being really patient because this is number one irrelevant, primarily to the overall debate. Number two is even if it was to be relevant, you're continuously making some fallacious conflations and the category errors and mistakes here.
Well, I don't think that it's necessarily fallacious in the way that you're saying, because I'm not jumping domains. I'm strictly just talking about the concepts that you're using, like when we have God and the way in which we talk about Him. And I think also when it is extremely relevant, because if we're going to talk about theism and the idea that God exists, I think it's important to establish like kind of what God even means in that way. Like I don't just like throw the word around.
Yep. Yeah, but you're
And it
talking about
means
theories of concepts. Am I bugging out? Am I bugging? No.
a little, you know,
Hold
but
on a sec. I'm gonna leave stage and rejoin. Give me a.
okay.
Make sure you guys vote for the winner in debate polls. It's like such a good faith conversation.
Yeah, me and Apollo are good faith. Is someone debating after this?
I don't know.
Yo, what's up? Can you hear me?
You're all good.
Yeah. Hold on, I
Yeah, it
gotta
should
go
be
inside and
much
grab.
better now.
Hold on, give me like 5 seconds. I gotta go inside and grab something really quick, but I'll be like literally 5 seconds.
Okay, gotcha, cool. Nene, when I was talking, was my mic bugging out the whole time when I was talking to her?
Like it does randomly, but like I still heard you. It's just kind of glitchy.
Okay. If it is really glitchy, then you guys gotta tell me.
Okay, hold on, I gotta swallow this pill. Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, I think like the discussion is relevant if we're gonna establish that God exists. I think like if there's any inconsistencies even in what you take God to be, like I think that that would be like a defeater to your position. I don't think that we should just use like God as a meaningless term. And so then I
Yeah,
think
but
like
we're
once you
talking
get to
about
that, there would,
you're talking about theories of concepts, and you're going into the whole domain of, like, for example, abstracting things to come towards a determination of synthesis,
well,
and I'm saying here
all
that that's relevant.
all I
And
was
I'm not
saying
sure why
and
and respectfully, I was gonna say respectfully, I'm not sure why you're going into a field of philosophy which I don't think you know that much about. And besides, this is not even relevant to the theistic debate. Like, I've told you what I mean by God. I told you the attributes I'm assigning to God in this given conversation. So can you just get to the argument as to why this given being exists, or?
yeah, I just told you why I think it's relevant, though. I think because I'm investigating your idea of God, I think that there may be some issues with it. And I also
I
don't
have
think
given
that
my
I'm making.
idea of God.
Hold on. I understand you've given it, and now I'm kind of like investigating it because I think that what you're talking about when you're saying that there's like a numerical identity between God's essence and his attributes that he has,
I did not
but
say
that he's
that. You
also
said the
divinely.
exact opposite. I said there's not a numerical identity. I said they're not numerically identical.
You said that they are divinely simple, meaning like that the
Divine
attributes can be
simplicity
assigned.
does not entail. No, that doesn't entail this. You have different doctrines of divine simplicity. Have you read up on the literature or no?
Yeah, I understand like Aquinas's view of divine simplicity.
Yeah, but Aquinas is not the only person. The firstly,
Yeah, I understand it's not exhaustive of all divine simplicity views,
yeah,
but
but
then I
he's
mean, I
not
guess
even
you
the
could elaborate that out
originator of the
better.
doctrine. And I've specified this on numerous different occasions. I'm not sure if you did not hear me because maybe with some background or maybe because my mic was bugging out, which is why I kept on asking if my mic is bugging out. What I said specifically was that I do not, and I repeat, I do not believe that there's a numerical identity between God's attributes and God. I do not hold to this position, but God is still
What you
divinely
said
simple.
earlier, what you said earlier is that you said that the attributes are to be identical with God's essence in
No, I
reality.
said
You said that
there's
there
a
is no
numerical
composition.
distinction.
I
No, no,
know,
no,
but
no, no,
listen,
no, no. You literally, no, no,
you
no.
said
What
that
happened
there's
was,
no
no, what
composition
happened
within
was,
God.
no, no, no. What happened was, I said there's no composition. Then I claimed that there is distinction. You asked me what type of distinction, what I mean by distinction. I said lack of identity. And then you said that was trivial. Then I clarified the type of distinction I believe exists between God's attributes and God, which is numerical distinction. You said, okay. And then we went down this rabbit hole. So don't try to put words in my mouth. I was very
I'm not
precise with
trying to
my
put words
wording,
in your
and we had
mouth.
this
All
back
I'm
forth.
saying is that I think if you're saying
Okay.
that the attributes are to be said to be identical with God's essence in reality, aka he has no composition within himself,
But I'm not
and
saying this.
when we're that's literally what you said earlier. You said his attributes,
Dude, I
things
just told
like
you what I
his
just
own.
said. I said explicitly, right? See,
And
this is
I
what
think
all this
I don't know.
happens in. This is what all this happens in Discord
No, I'm actually
debates
trying to be good
with
faith. Like
fucking.
I actually am,
Dude, no,
but
you're
I'm
not being
just
good faith, because what happened was I specified that there's a
okay. Then we don't have
distinction.
to further discussion.
You asked me what type of distinction, and then I said it's a new. I said, actually, firstly, you asked me what do I mean by distinction. When I claimed originally that there was a distinction between God's attributes and God's existence, you asked me what do you mean by distinction. Word for word, I responded by saying what I mean is a lack of identity, and word for word, the response was, these are your words, by the way, not mine. You said that's trivial. Then I said, okay, what I mean is numerical distinction. And you're like, okay, cool. So yes, I did in fact claim that there's a distinction. And if I claimed there is to be a distinction between its attributes and its existence, then clearly I'm not claiming it to be identical.
Okay, listen. I'm
Your own
saying
words disproved your own
all I'm
position
saying.
and reflection.
No, I'm saying that I think that it's a little bit contradictory, which has been like my whole entire gripe this whole
How
time.
is
When
it
you're saying that
contradictory?
there's things, yeah, I'm going to tell you. When you're saying that there's things that God has, such as his attributes, that are said to be, which is what you said earlier. I don't know if you're like walking back on it or something, but you said that they have no
I'm not
composition
walking
within.
back on anything. I've been
within
consistent the entire time.
well, okay, earlier you
You
said
really
that
need to
God
start
has.
tracking.
I am tracking the conversation. You said earlier that
You
there is
said a
no
while ago that what I
composition.
said was God's existence is identical to
Why
his
are
attributes, even
you?
though the
Are we
whole
gonna
course of the conversation was
bash
contradicting it.
forth, or we're gonna talk over each other? I'm actually trying to get faith. So anyway, yeah, you said earlier that in reality there would be no composition. So you said earlier that the attributes would have some like identity within the
No, I
essence of
said
God.
there's a lack of identity.
Yes, I know, but I think that that makes no sense if you're saying that there would be no composition.
Okay, so dude,
Because you're
there's a
saying because
difference
by
between
that
you
you're
saying
saying
it
that
doesn't make any sense for me to say this, and you claiming that I did not say this, okay? So even if you believe it does not make any sense for me to affirm the position that they are not identical or that there's a distinction, that's different from you now claiming that I did not say that there's a distinction, which I did in fact say, which was actually proven by the recollection and the train of thoughts a while ago. If it was to be the case that I never said distinction at all when I said that there is distinction, then why ask me questions about what I mean to say that there's a distinction, which went down this rabbit
Well,
hole to
because
begin with?
I was confused what you even meant by that. If you're saying that God has no
So you
composition,
are
then we're also
confused, right? So
saying
don't try to be
no.
confident about your
I'm not
judgments about what happened if
confused.
you're confused with
I'm
the
not
conversation.
confused in the sense that I don't know what's going on. I'm confused on what you even mean. If you're saying that there's no composition within God, but then you are also saying that there is no identical relation between God's essence and
Not
reality and the
relation. I'm
attributes in
saying
which He
there's no
has.
identity. I'm saying there's no identity.
By saying identity relation,
You
that's
can
kind of
say
just
there
saying
are
the same
identical
thing.
relations between two relata without the relata being identical, right? So that's irrelevant. And secondly, I'm talking about the points that I said. I said there's no distinction between the attributes and God's existence or God. So don't try to say if
I
you want to
understand you
backtrack
said
because I'm
that.
not
And you said
backtracking on a
there is no
single goddamn point
distinction.
made of the conversation.
No, that's not what I'm doing. I just think that it's confused. I think that if you're saying that there would be no composition, that's why I was trying to investigate the view.
Do
That's
you
why we
think
went
the
for the
lack
whole
of do
route
you think
table.
composition? I'm going to ask you this question to progress the conversation. Do you think lack of composition entails that it is the case that the attributes are identical to his existence?
Okay, do I think that the lack of composition entails that the attributes don't actually like exist within God in the same way? Is that what you're asking me?
No, I'm asking you a claim not about ontology, but a claim about relations. I'm talking about identities. I'm asking you, do we believe that it is the case that if God was to lack composition, then it entails that there is a lack of identity, or sorry, that it would entail rather that there is identity between his attributes and his existence. Do you believe there's a logical
I
entanglement
think that
relation
if you're
between these two
saying,
claims?
I
Yes or
think
no?
that if you're saying that there is no composition within God and that He is divinely simple, that these things would have to be that these things wouldn't have a distinction unless the distinction is purely conceptual, like kind of like
Uh,
some virtual distinction.
what's the contradiction in having non-conceptual distinctions and it being the case that God is still non-composite while possessing these attributes which are not identical?
Yeah, because
Where's the
if you're saying that
contradiction?
he's composite, if you're saying that he's composite, that means that his energy, like the being that he is. And then if you're saying that there's something conceptual about it,
You bugged out for me. What he said, sorry?
we can use tool to talk God, right, and his attributes, but it's not actually something existing like within reality.
Okay, so it kind of bugged out on my end because I don't know what's going on with my connection. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you doubt a little.
Okay. Yeah, I'm bugging out. Hold up, give me a sec. What about now? Can you hear me better? My mic is bugging out for some fucking reason. Hold up. It's Nat? Oh, it's
Wait, is
Nat.
it?
Okay, I think it was my mic the entire time. She's been bugging. Anyway, so Nat, what I'm saying here
Wait, is it
is,
my?
as it
Can you hear me?
pertains, yeah, I
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
So what I'm saying here
Okay.
is, as it pertains to what we're talking about, right? So I claimed, right, that there's a lack of composition, and I never made any claim regarding the distinctions being conceptual or non-conceptual. What I said, however, was it could be non-conceptual. And do you think there's a contradiction in that being the case, right? So I'm asking you right now, could you deliver a sound argument which ends in the conclusion that that would be a logically contradictory concept? Yes or no?
Yes, because I can lay it out informally. Like you're saying that by conceptual, we're just talking about it in a way that we can kind of talk about God and His ontology and distinct it only in a way in our minds, so we can use it as a tool to talk about Him and His attributes. But it's not actually talking about anything in the nature of
I
God
never made
Himself.
any claim on if it is conceptual or non-conceptual.
I know, but you're saying if it's non-conceptual, that's fine. You just said that.
Yeah, so what's the issue with that specifically? You
I
started
just,
off
I
by
just, I
talking
just,
about
I just said why.
no,
I
you're
just said
talking
why
about
it being.
conceptual.
No, I just said why it being non-conceptual because okay, actually you're right. So if it's conceptual, that's the issue. But if it's non-conceptual, then I think that would create distinctions in his ontology because it's talking something about the nature of God Himself, not like
Okay,
the way
cool.
that
And
we
what's the
conceive
issue
of
with
Him.
there being distinctions in his ontology? What's the issue with that? How would that entail parenthood?
Saying that there is ways we can parse or we can separate God, meaning we can say that He
No,
is
no, 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 no. Yeah, so,
existing this way, and then
that doesn't
He.
follow. That doesn't follow, right? So it doesn't follow from there
Oh,
being real distinctions that the entities within the being's ontology are separable. That doesn't follow.
I think that would follow. Can you tell me how that separability like wouldn't follow
No,
that?
the burden is on you to demonstrate how it does follow, because you're the one making the claim that it does follow, which is why you believe it is a contradictory concept. So don't try to pivot away. Just demonstrate to me how that would follow. Because we know that separability and distinctions are radically different concepts in metaphysics. So how is it going to be the case that different distinctions entails separability? What's the proof of that claim?
Yeah. Okay. So if what we're taking separability to mean,
You're bugging out. Am I the one bugging, or is it Nat who's bugging out?
She's bugging out.
probably me. My like notoriously bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think your Wi-Fi is bugging, and I think your brain is kind of bugging right now because for some reason you believe that distinctions entails parted, and I've yet to see the rational motivation for
Okay.
this.
Can you? We'll figure that out in a second. Can you hear me? Yes or no? If not, I'm
I
gonna
can hear
like
you right now.
rejoin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what
I
I'm
don't know
going to
if it's
hear right
my
now, and
Wi-Fi.
after you saying this, is just an argument for the contradiction. You feel me? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that if we're talking about separability just being something has the ability to exist in its own right outside of another thing, right? So if we're talking about that in a like distinctive way, then I think that would follow, because if you're saying that the distinction, okay, hold on, let me restart. So if you're saying that there's a distinction, and that distinction creates composition, meaning there is one part and then there is another part, I think that this would entail that there is two different parts there.
Okay, so watch this. This is going to be like a clip moment. So watch, I'm going to just bear this point, right? So under your worldview, do you believe it is the case that to be distinct is to be separable? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, can you have two distinct objects which are inseparable?
Can you have two
That means
distinct
one cannot
objects?
exist without the other. They're like conjoined as an entity, but they're distinct. Is that the logical possibility?
Okay, if Y can exist without X.
Can you have two conjoined objects which are different from one another? They're conjoined, right, into one thing, and they're distinct. Can you have two objects like
But they
this
logically entail
which
one
are going
another?
to be distinct? Yeah, so they're conjoined into one object and they're distinct as entities individually. Can you have this as a possibility? Yes or no?
Yeah, but then that would seem like there's not actually like
Yeah?
any
Okay,
real
that
distinction
point is
within the
finished.
ontology.
Let's move
Then
on.
that would
Yeah, I'm wasting my time at
there's
this
no
point.
distinction within the real ontology.
But buddy, so if you're saying that to be distinct is to be separable, and you believe that separability entails distinction and vice versa, and then you're agreeing that you can have distinct objects which are not you can have distinct objects which are not separable, then you're conceding that it is not the case there's an entailment relation. That
No,
point
I'm
is
just
finished. So
point. I don't
so I
think
can
that
just
it would make
dispose of
them
that point in the
distinction within their
garbage can, and we
ontology.
can move on to the relevant points, please.
I don't think that it was irrelevant. I think that it's making an issue within the way that you conceive God. If you're saying that the distinction wouldn't entail separability,
I think you realize the obvious, blunder you've committed. That's like a devastating blunder, right? So, look, this is what you said. Your words, not mine, right? So, your words are simply that distinction, right, entails separability, and you believe separability entails distinction. You believe that if two things are distinct, they're separable. Now, I gave you a scenario in which you have two distinct objects, which are the types of things that are inseparable. And I asked you explicitly, do you believe that's a possibility? You said yes. So if it is a
yeah, but they
possibility,
wouldn't have
that means it does not entail.
they would not have this numerical identity. Given that
Relax.
they wouldn't have
So
numerical identity.
I'll
That's
just
like
want to say
super
one more
trivial.
thing,
Like let's
right?
say
So if it is the case, right, that distinction entails separability, right? If that is to be true, and we have a case where two things are distinct, but they are inseparable, and you believe that's a possibility, then that contradicts your claim previously, and no amount of fanboys or fangirls in the server is going to save this contradiction they've committed a while ago. So can you move on to my argument for why God is
well, I
thank
think
you.
that well, I don't think that it's committing like an obvious blunder or something. Like if you're saying that there's things that are separable, but they still remain the same in ontology or something, I don't think that makes any sense. I think that we can have two things
You have already
that have
lost this
identical
point, so I
properties
could just move on to
or
my
something like
argument for why
that.
God is.
Okay, then we can conclude if you think that it's like annoying or
I
something.
don't even think
Because
conclusions are even necessary. I think it is pretty conspicuous who lost this point, and that's not me, definitely. So,
okay, then we can
so the
conclude it.
argument.
I don't. I want to finish the point, but if you don't want to finish it, then I don't see any point of like talking
The
about
point
it.
is finished.
Also,
You claim there's
Rizhan
an
wants to
entailment
debate.
relation,
Rizhan,
and then
yeah,
simultaneously agree that there's no entailment
because
relation.
you're
That's a
saying I
contradiction.
still think that there will be two things that have distinction.
You said what? Is she
It
bugging
wouldn't
out
create
again?
a community. Hello? I'm
You're
saying that
glitching.
these. I think that that would. So, guys,
Okay, so
if you don't
Nat,
finish
here's
the
the point I'm
conversation,
making. Here's the point
I
I'm making. So I'm gonna type out the claims you made, okay? And I'm gonna basically walk you through the points, okay? It's like very simple. Shouldn't be that complicated, okay? Claim A from Nat. Distinction. If two things are distinct, then necessarily they're separable. That's claim A. Claim B. It is logically possible for there to be distinct objects which are inseparable. Those two claims are incompatible with each other, meaning you commit to the contradiction, and so you thereby lost the point, and we can just move on because this is going to be a waste of my time, right? So I'm starting to lose my patience, so we can
I
just move
think
on to
that
my
it's
argument as to why
wasting
God
my time
exists.
as well. So, and I think Rizhan wants to debate you.
Rizhan wants to debate me. They'll have to get me money to debate Rizhan, or they have to boost my server 5 more times. That's just good to go. So if
I
they
don't know.
want that to happen, then sure. So yeah, moving on. Right. So I know for a fact Nanny is not gonna send me this recording because this one is embarrassing. So here's the argument I have for why God exists. I have two stages of the argument. Um, let me see. Let me just get the arguments. I have it somewhere. So this is just like the arguments as to why God exists. I'm gonna just post it in. Let's see. Which chat could I post in? Since bot commands chat is not active, it's in that chat. So check that chat specifically. Nat,
Wait,
have you
where is
seen the
it?
argument? Yes, no. The argument is logically valid. Tell me which premise do you reject?
No,
That's one
I don't
part of
really
the
think
argument.
that
By the way,
no
that's
wants to
part of
debate
the
you
argument.
anymore.
Someone move this side character down before I leave the server.
Like, yo, why are you running away?
You're stuttering, dude.
Wait,
We're not here
guys,
to like have a
running away.
1v2 debate. It's a
Okay,
1v1 debate.
hold on, hold
Why the
on.
fuck are you
I don't
moving up
think
this like
I
little
didn't move him
British
up.
smelly
Yeah.
greasy ass motherfucker who never takes a shower? Like what
Yeah.
the fuck is
I
going
didn't
on?
bring him up,
It's a
but
1v1 debate. I came to debate
I
Nat,
understand.
not to piss
Yeah.
on some fucking
Okay.
retard Down syndrome British fucking black
Oh my
spook.
god. Okay, yeah, I
Okay?
understand,
If
but
you want him to debate me, then you're gonna have to give my server 5 more boosts or pay me some money and then I'll debate him afterwards. And that goes for any other fucking low IQ side character, lobby character in this fucking server. Now back to Nat. The argument is logically valid, okay? Now which premise do you reject in the argument?
Okay, let me. Like I didn't.
You said what, sorry?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Well, you're still bugging out a little bit. I'm asking you, which premise of the argument do you reject? You're bugging out really badly, like really badly.
Do you see the argument? I mean, I can't see the argument. Sorry, is what I meant to say.
It's in the bot commands channel.
I don't know where the. Oh
I'll
shit!
just ping in the channel.
Can you send me in D?
Oh, you got
See
pinged
it,
in the
never mind. I
channel.
see
There
it.
you go.
I see it. I see it. I see it. If God has logically converse or semantic order. Okay, so this seems like kind of like some sort of ontological. Like it seems like you're trying to make like
It
an
is an
ontological
ontological
argument.
argument.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
You're bugging out a bit. Just restart your Discord, okay, and then just come back. You're bugging out.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're glitchy. So just restart your Discord and then just come back.
Let me leave and like turn my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, just do that. Yeah, please.
Make sure you guys go vote for who's winning in the polls channel. Apollo, why don't you want to debate Rizwan?
I thought we talked about this. What's the reason as to why I joined the server? Nene, what's the reason?
Oh, I did not bring him up, just to clarify. I did not bring
Wait,
him up.
why do you keep?
That was not me. We can talk about it in DMs later, but you're gonna debate Rizwan.
I'm not going to debate Rizwan unless you give me either another nitro or you pay me money, or it's gonna have to be 5 more boosts or some money. That's really just it, right? I don't just debate people, especially in dog shit servers like this, for no fucking reason. Especially someone like Rizwan. I mean, he's just like completely retarded. Like, just listen to how he sounds. But look, so I mean, she's not back yet, so.
I'm sorry, she's back. I did not see her. Are you guys gonna continue?
Like is hold on.
Yeah, so Nat, so which premise of the argument do you reject?
Okay, so let me read this. Okay, so sorry, I had to like completely restart everything. And or conceptual features that necessarily God exists. God has logically consistent order, first order semantical or conceptual features, necessarily God exists. If God exists independently or mind independently. Okay, so I guess, can we see the motivation for premise 2?
Because God has a definition. That means
Well, I think
features.
okay, if you're talking about the way that we're defining God, is that kind of what you're saying?
Omnipotent, omniscient being that creates the universe.
Can we apply the other things that you were talking about?
That's a semantical truth.
Huh?
Premise 2 is not going to be. I'm going to give you a pro tip. If you want to like actually debunk the argument, premise 2 is the last premise you should be focusing on. You should be doing this
Well,
question.
listen, if I already think that there's issues like within the way that you're like describing God, like we were talking about previously, then I wouldn't think that he would
issues in
have.
the way nature of described God, do you think there's a contradiction in defining God to be an omnipotent, omniscient creator? You think that's a contradiction?
Well, I think that the way that you were describing him in the beginning was true. That's like the whole thing that we were talking about.
Yeah, but we clearly demonstrated that's why that's not the case, because you
Well,
blundered
you
over
like
the
you
distinction
moved
attributes.
on when I wasn't even able to like reply to what you were saying because you talked over me and then I
You
had to leave.
replied, and even then, no reply you said it was going to save you from the contradiction if committed explicitly. So
Well,
what's the point?
I don't think that's true. I don't think that there was a true contradiction. I was trying to explain to you why I thought that, even if you were saying that
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's not
there
a
was no
true contradiction
composition.
because
Yeah,
all contradictions are
I
false, including the contradiction you've made
don't
to the
think that there was
conversation.
anything
I agree with that.
contradictory about what I said. I don't think I accept this because you're catching up. So
You're lagging
after
out
that,
again.
we can talk about that.
You've been
Hello.
laggy again. But look, if you want me to just prove all the premises of the argument, that's like
No,
easy for
listen.
me to
What I'm
do.
saying is that I think that if you're is consistent or whatever like that, or forced has conceptual first order semantical features. I don't think that's true. I think that what we were talking about earlier shows that the way that you're cashing out God seems to be like kind of contradictory. But you don't want to go back to that for some
You
reason.
have not
But I don't think
demonstrated
that
that's
we.
why this contradicts her. So what
No,
we're
I
gonna
don't
just
think that
do is,
we weren't able to. I wasn't able to even explain like my reasoning as to why I
brother,
think that it's
the
true.
definition of God is just omnipotent, omniscient creature or being, right? So that's just gonna be necessarily true. That's a semantical truth. So when I use the word God is a placeholder for the set of words omnipotent, omniscient creator. So it's just really just A equals
I
A,
don't think
except I'm
that's
just
the
using
only
different
way you're
placeholders.
using. I don't think that's the only way that you're using God here. Like
That's
if all you're
the
saying is to
definition of
God.
God. You're conflating the metaphysical commitments I have outside of the definition and the definition itself, which is different.
Well, no, I think that if you're saying God, that it's going to entail some commitments that we have. I don't think that you're going to say that we talk about God and then not refer to like the way that he's metaphysically.
No, the only issue you had was me believing that there are non-conceptual distinctions between God's attributes or whatever. And I'm saying specifically that someone can believe in my definition of God and not believe in any of the commitments I have. So the metaphysical commitments you're focused on right now are separate, right? They're
No,
separable
I think
from
that
the
I think
definition
that if you're
of
cashing
God.
out God in this way, but I think that the way that you're talking about God in the beginning is not consistent. Then I don't think I would grant this the beginning of this argument. Like I don't think that it makes sense to do
Okay,
that.
so this definition, which is simply an omnipotent, omniscient creator, is that
You use
logically
the word
contradictory?
God and use the word in different ways.
when I'm using the word God, that's what I mean. If you're not going to be engaging with that semantics, then you're just really just debating no one at this point but yourself.
Well, I don't
Right.
think
So
that it
when I
makes
say
sense
God
to
exists,
use
when
God in, I don't
Apollo
think
the person says God exists, what Apollo the person means is that an omnipotent, omniscient being exists. If you're going to
I don't
reject
think
the
that it
definition and
makes.
say I don't accept the definition, that's just you not debating me at that
Well,
point.
I just
That's
don't
really
think
just
that
it.
it makes sense for you to cash out God that way when you were already cashing him out in a completely different way in the beginning. That I think is
I wasn't
contradictory.
cashing them out in a completely different way, right? So you're
You
conflating
were.
again
You're
the
saying that you're not
definition.
making
No,
these same
no, that's
commitments.
incorrect, right? And this is just
Okay, guys,
another
I think that we
blunder
should
on
force
your end.
conclusions here. It was a really good debate, but
What
he's
are you
getting
forcing
nowhere now.
conclusions for?
I
Why
don't
are
think
you
he's getting
stepping in for
anywhere
her
now.
because she's like getting like it's
Well,
just
no,
embarrassing,
it's
right?
just
This
not
is like what
You're
I'm
just
talking about.
you're
So,
talking
I'm
about
gonna
God in
continue
different
pointing out the
ways.
blunder that she just made, right, Nene? So what happened was, right, there's a distinction between metaphysical or meta-ontic commitments you might have and the semantical features that are attached towards a particular word, right? So for example, I can believe that a bachelor is an unmarried man, and I can believe that a bachelor is going to be metaphysically an ideal concept or something which is not mind independent or something which is some sort of construct of some sort of platonic feature. Those are metaphysical commitments or beliefs you might have doxastically, but those are independent of the semantical features of the word itself. What this argument is focused on is just whether or not an omnipotent, omniscient creature exists or being exists. That's about the semantics of what God is. All the points we've been talking about previously was about the philosophy of concepts, conceptual constructions, like theories of concepts, which goes into theories of knowledge, like rationalism versus empiricism. We're talking about the distinction between neoclassical theism and classical theism. These are metaphysically related topics. These are metaphysically related topics, topics about metaphysics or theories of concepts, not topics about the definition of God, which is what the argument is focused on, just like any other ontological argument. So just stand up and stay focused on the actual point and lock in. Could you attack the actual argument legitimately, please,
Yes,
and thank
so
you.
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying that if you have these metaphysical commitments towards God, and I think that these metaphysical commitments make God something contradictory in your idea or in your idea of what he is, then I don't
The
think we should
metaphysical
accept
commitments are independent and separate from the argument.
hold on. I understand, but then why would I even accept that? Doesn't even seem like a good faith argument. It seems like you're cashing out God in different ways just to, I don't know, make yourself like look better or something. I don't understand, but like it doesn't make sense to cash him out in a
pathetic,
completely different way in the
okay?
beginning.
Okay,
This
No,
is
it-
just
it's not.
ridiculous,
Just
right?
please,
You're
please,
So
saying
if I say,
guys,
I think in the beginning that is
Hold on, guys. I want you guys to conclude now. It's just getting nowhere. Like, I don't want to lose my storage because of this debate, bro. Like, please just conclude.
I don't know why you're just running away, right? Or you're trying to let her run away.
Y'all are
Right,
taking
so I'm
my
gonna just continue
storage.
with
Please
responses to the
conclude.
point. Right, so Nene, pipe down, stop, right? So I'm telling you right now, just back to Nat, right? I'm telling you that as it pertains to what you said, if I make a claim, let's say I make a claim like a bachelor exists, okay? Say I say bachelors exist. And by bachelor, what I mean is an unmarried man. But that's what I mean by a bachelor, an unmarried man, okay? Walk with me. Now, I can have independent metaphysical commitments, like for example, I could have let's say I have a flawed metaphysical perspective or canvas or profile of what the bachelor is. I could believe that the bachelor, again, is a concept of the mind. I could believe that the bachelor is a physical object or a platonic object. Those are metaphysical commitments independent of the claim. Even if I have a metaphysically flawed perspective of what a bachelor is, it doesn't change the fact of bachelor's existence.
Yeah, nigga, I'm very sorry. Shut the fuck up and conclude, bitch
What I
ass
mean
nigga.
there, I don't know why this little femboy is piping the fuck up. Shut the fuck up and get the move the fuck down.
Yeah, I don't know why we're speaking, especially
like these are the
Okay,
fucking
wait,
retard
okay.
insects which happen.
Okay. Guys, just conclude, okay? Like, I can't. I have no storage. Please conclude.
Why are you trying to force conclusions? The debate is not finished.
If you
Me
want
and
the
Nats are still going
recording,
back
you
and
have to
forth.
conclude.
You're trying to
I don't have
interrupt my
much
points.
storage right
You're trying to
now.
prevent me
Like,
from
please conclude.
you're trying to prevent me from actually demolishing your points by trying to force
You did
conclusions.
what you have to do. I'm so proud of you. Just conclude, bro. Like, I don't have storage. Like.
So I'm going to continue with the points I'm going to be making. And we have this on the recording, by the way. So you're just going to look bad on the recording optically. Nanny, you're just going to look bad on the recording, to be clear. So to continue with the points I'm going to be making, right? So the point that I was making before the interruptions happened is...
Listen,
I
get what you're saying.
Like, this has to be a
I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Like, we can have certain
Well, you can't fully understand what I'm saying when the owner of the server is
towards our semantic commitments to
because
something.
you're scared
What
of
I'm
the point.
saying is I think that it's bad faith
This
to
is
have like a certain
embarrassing. This is
conception of God that is
this the
contradictory.
standards of
And
debating
then
nowadays?
you
You're just trying
map it onto an
force
argument for God,
conclusions
but then
for your
say you're not
fucking
including it.
girlfriend because you're
So
scared of the
it just
actual
doesn't
fucking
make sense to me.
argumentation substance. What
Why
the
is he
fuck is
still
going
talking?
on here? I'm still talking because I want to keep talking,
Okay,
bitch.
I'm
You
giving
don't tell
you
me
a
to do.
chance to
So,
give your
anyways,
closing.
I'm telling you right now that
Please
there's
conclude. Oh my god.
Listen. All I have to say is that I think that it's extremely bad faith to use an argument where we're using the word God or we're talking about God in its broadest concept. But I think that what you conceive of God to be as is contradictory. And so I wouldn't even like want to begin to talk about that. But you wouldn't want to go back and talk about why you think that he isn't contradictory. So I just don't think it's getting anywhere. I think that if you wanted this argument to succeed, that first we would need to delve into what you even take God to be and see if that's even like a conceptually coherent thing. Because I don't think it's exhaustive of just saying he's omnipotent and omniscient. I don't think that's what you think, because we were talking before, and that's not what you think it's exhaustive of. So, yeah.
Okay, that was Nat's closing. Now, Apollo, please just give your closing, like, please.
first.
What'd you say?
I'm saying she can give her conclusions first.
I think that was her closing, but if you want her to do it again,
Okay, gotcha, cool. So I'm just gonna give my closings. I'm gonna give my conclusions, right? So my conclusion of the debate is my opponent just no, I mean they try to hype her up as the best female Theism debater, complete garbage. Look, the point of the matter is simply that there's a lot of equivocations between theories of concepts and the metaphysics. Like, for example, she would relate between the process of abstraction when investigating conceptual construction talks and theories of concepts related conversations, and an abstract object, which is something mainly pertaining to fundamental metaphysics. That's the first blunder she made. All the blunder she made was she's saying that a composite distinction is going to entail the idea of there being separability. She said this explicitly, her words, not mine. And then right after she made those specific set of propositions, she said afterwards that you can have distinctions even in cases where the entities which are distinct are going to be inseparable. Clear contradiction, got completely ripped apart in that point, limb by limb dispatched. We moved on to the actual argument, which has been sprinting and yelping away from the entire time. And what did in fact occur was that I gave an argument to the logical argument, right, and she did not even try to see the argument, except trying to place into question what premise 2 is. However, her objection towards premise 2 is the type of objection which she believes hinges on the previous points that we're talking about with respect to metaphysics. I explained the radical difference between metaphysical commitments and semantical features. That means the claim that God exists can uphold to be true independently of whether or not my metaphysical perspective of what God is something which is incorrect. For example, I could have an incorrect perspective on what a bachelor is metaphysically or ontically. I can have an incorrect perspective insofar as I believe a bachelor is objective or subjective or a platonic object or concrete objects. Doesn't fucking matter, right? Because if I satisfy the conditions of demonstrating that an unmarried man, which is what the word bachelor refers to and denotes, exists, then the conclusion goes through independently of the metaphysical commitments. With that being said, that was a complete demolition, and that was just so embarrassing, to be honest. So Nene, send me the recorder, which I doubt you're gonna send me the recorder because of how embarrassing this was for your homeboy. But yeah, I'm done talking, and I can just leave the server because you guys are disgusting. Peace.
Wait. Whoa, wait. I was gonna give him nitro to debate Rishan, but it's all good, man.
Wait, where's that nigga gone? That nigga was calling me a femboy. I already fucked that nigga. Oh god, that nigga won't stand with me. Bitch ass nigga.
You tell him, bro.
You already get on that nigga ass. I swear to God, man. No, get that bitch ass nigga back here. I swear to God.
Okay, guys, I'm trying to get him back in here. I don't know why he's leaving so fast.
I still need to ask him if he likes my name.
Wait, let Rishan up. I don't see him. Wait.
Okay.
Yo, guys, what's good, man? Anyways, I do think that was a good performance from Nat. I do think that Paul just lost, like, quite clearly. But, I mean, let's just have a quick analysis of his argument. If God has logically consistent first-order semantical and or conceptual features, isn't necessarily going to exist. Just confusion. What does first-order semantic features even mean? I don't think he'd be able to pin it down. But, I mean, like, premise 1, anyways, just violates, like, the Lowenheim-Skolem theorem. So, I mean, like,